Hello, welcome to the DraftCast. This time we are joined by one of the new managers for this season. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
Overexcited to be here. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. I got the call. I was going to be on the podcast, and I've been looking forward to it ever since. Yeah.
good. Glad to have you on. I think it's always good to get someone new on and hear their thoughts on what the league is and everything and how it's getting on. So we'll get into that. I think we could do a quick review of the league standings as they are now, and like I said, have a chat about your experience of the league so far. And then we have a sort of special Man United segment, as you're one of our United fans in the group. So I think it'd be interesting to discuss your new manager and what your thoughts are and everything on that. So have you got the league table to hand?
I have. Yeah, it's not very pleasant reading for myself, but yeah, it's I've got it in front of me. It's I've enjoyed it so far. I had a good run in the cup.
Yeah.
Getting to the semis. I actually won the first leg of the semi, and ever since then I've been on a downward hill because my team's just been the epitome of inconsistent. Some weeks I have a little check and I'm in the points, and other weeks I have a look and wish I never looked. So, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been good.
Yeah. It's been a bit of an interesting week. We've got two people that have done like especially well, with George and Tom, and then there's a few people in the 40s, a couple 30s, and then some 20s as well. So
yeah, George smashed it.
He has, hasn't he? Yeah, that's a good score, 62 for the week. He sort of left me and Lawrence behind, but all of us were a bit close at the sort of start of the week, so he's made some a bit of a gap there for us to catch up.
Yeah, I think around about the time of that semi-final of the cup, I think on that semi-final week I overtook George for like a brief game week, and then I've just plummeted. But yeah, he's Mason Mount. Oh, and Sanchez. Oh, and Mope. Yeah, Mason Mount's doing. Oh, and he smashed it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Blimey.
So I've just got your team up actually, and you've got Fernandez, who last year was one of the best players. So it's a bit unfortunate he's not really done the same so far this year.
Yeah, and Mahrez. I was reading a stat because City are playing Leipzig at the moment in the Champions League, and Mahrez has scored 5 goals in the group stages, and the only person to outscore him in a group stage is Sergio Aguero, and he got 6. So in the Champions League, Mahrez has been flying, but in the Premier League, he's been rubbish. He's just been part of that rotation. I think Grealish has come in, taken his spot. Sterling's come back in and made the most of it, and Mahrez just seems to. He's just a bit inconsistent now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say your team is. It's not exactly weak on paper, but like you say, if the rotation is not your friend.
Yeah, this is it. My strikers are. I mean, Edouard came in. He scored 2 goals in his debut, and I thought, I've done well here, and he's done nothing since. And you kind of hope every week. I think even Benteke is now outscoring him. I think George had Benteke as well for a bit, but he still got him. But then I had Josh King on my bench when he scored his one and only Premier League hat-trick, which still keeps me awake at night. That I can still, because the story behind it is he had a yellow flag, and I thought he had COVID, so I didn't bother putting him back in. And so I was at work on the Saturday, and on my I can't remember if it was on my break or if I finished work, I had a look, and not only had he played, he'd scored a hat-trick, and I think I cried all the way home.
Yeah, it is awful when you like and ah about putting a player on, and then you think, nah, they'll be all right, and then they just pop off that week. It's a gut punch for sure.
Yeah, I never thought fantasy football could mean quite so much, but it sometimes it can make or break your weekend.
Yeah. Adam will love to hear you saying that.
Yeah, it's a bit infectious to say the least.
Yeah. So you're enjoying it so far then?
I am, yeah. I am, just because it's my nature, I am disappointed to be as low in the table as I am. Especially, I mean, we talk about Fernandes. He scored a hat trick on the opening weekend. I think he got player of the game week, and I thought, here we go. And I've just been on a downward spiral ever since. So, but yeah, it's good. It is good. I think Adam asked me to join last season, and I said no because at the time I was busy. I can't remember what it was exactly I was doing. Did I have a course or something? I can't remember, but I couldn't. He kind of said it's a bit full on. Be prepared to come back to 600 messages.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe not. But he gave me the call again this year, and after COVID, I didn't really have a lot going on. So I'm glad I did because it's good. It's good fun.
Yeah. You're not wrong coming back to 600 messages sometimes. It does happen.
Yeah.
So have you been involved in any trades at all?
So I've won one successful trade. A lot of sharks keep circling around Bruno.
Yeah.
Offering me dross.
Was that a snuggle of booze by any chance?
They're top of the list.
Yeah.
I think in the first, I think after the draft, I got offered Cody and somebody else for Bruno and Mahrez, and I can't even remember who the second player was. And I thought, am I missing something?
Yeah.
And then I've received so many trades requests for Bruno for rubbish. But the one that I did do was actually with Josh King. I think that was from Jim.
Yeah.
He took a Leeds player off me. I think it might have been Rodrigo or Rafina, who I think has found his way into the agency. And Josh King, aside from being on my bench when he scored his hat tricks, actually done pretty well for me. And I think I gave him Sarr, who turned out to be, I think he's the highest scoring goalkeeper in the game at the moment.
I think he said that. Yeah,
I think we've both done pretty well from that. Although I think Sarr's landed back at Adam now.
I can't keep track.
Yeah.
Jim's team changes every 5 weeks.
Yeah. It's quite nice. I mean, I was a bit tentative with trades just because I didn't want people thinking I was like pushing my luck or anything like that. So, and I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't really get how it worked to begin with. So I've been a bit tentative, but I've put a couple out there. But everyone keeps saying that Riyad Mahrez is, a quality fantasy football player. So I offer him, and nobody wants him. And I'm like, well, I'm getting mixed signals here. So, but yeah, trade seems to have picked up a bit more recently.
Yeah, it was funny. I don't know if Adam ever told you the story of the second season, which is when I joined, I think now. And their first season, I think they only ever had about 10 trades over the whole year. And we did 10 trades within like the first month in the second season. So Jim and Adam, I think, went nuts because they were like, yeah, this is exactly what we wanted, sort of thing. So,
nice. Yeah, it'd be good to. I mean, there's nothing left in the agency really. Every week I have a look, and I don't think I even went on my waivers for about 4 game weeks, and I had McAllister, so I really should have. But now I think it'd be interesting to see the trades how they go. I sent actually as we speak, I sent a spicy one off to Ad earlier today.
Oh yeah.
And he hasn't responded, which is a shame. I have prodded him, but still there in his inbox. Which it's a big one.
Ooh.
I'll say no more, but I think I've offered him a 5-player trade.
God, that's big. Not
It
many of them.
is, but if you're going to trade, do it properly.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I suppose this weekend we have our sort of Christmas do, if you like. That'll be the first social event you've attended, won't it? So then you'll get another idea of the other side of the draft league as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. When me and Ad were studying, he mentioned it a few times, and he showed me a picture of the football tops he'd made for everyone with their team names on, which was the bit that was sort of enticing me when he mentioned it the first time. I thought, yeah, that's I could get on board with that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Although I have got another busy day at work beforehand, so I'm hoping I can get there in good time. But yeah, it'd be nice to see it. It'd be nice to put a few names to the a few faces to the names. Sorry, because when I first got into the WhatsApp, it was just message after message of people who I didn't know talking about things I didn't really understand. So so it'd be nice to actually get to know people in real life rather than just sort of their WhatsApp personalities, so to speak.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. It's a fair point, to be fair, yeah, because it can be a bit of a jumping in the deep end with the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the winding up that goes on from some people towards Man United fans as well. There's a lot of fishing that goes on, but that's all good.
Yeah, no, it's all in jest. Right, and speaking of Man United, as I mentioned before, we're going to do a bit of a question and answer session. So I've got some questions to pose to you, mainly around your whole manager situation. So, I'll crack on with those. Are you ready?
Cool. I am.
So, my first one's going to be, do you think if Ollie was given to the end of the season, he'd have been able to turn it around?
No.
Ooh. Cutthroat no.
Yeah, just cutthroat no. No, it was one of them, when you look back on it, the second game of the season, Southampton away, we drew 1-1. We'd gone down 1-0 from a rubbish goal. I think it was a Fred deflection. And I was sat there with my mate, and we're just watching last season's football. You know, we've signed Sancho, we've signed Varane. At that stage, Ronaldo hadn't come back in yet. And you'd think we would kick on. There'd been the Euros and players had been away, but you just thought that there'd be a progression, and we were just watching the same thing over and over. And then the young boys away game, it was just he was making substitution after substitution without any real cohesion. He was just throwing players from the bench onto the pitch just to try and do anything. And I think that was almost sort of the writing on the wall. And you could just see the body language of the players. I don't think they'd stop playing for Ollie, because I genuinely think the players liked him. I think they liked having him around. I think they liked the fact that he was a link between the past of the club and that kind of golden era under Ferguson to what they were trying to achieve. So I think they liked him, and I don't think they stopped playing for him.
Yeah.
I just think they didn't know how to play or what he expected. And I think had he carried on, I think we would have easily finished 13th, 14th. I couldn't have seen it. The whole mood around the club, he was never gonna get it back.
Okay, that's fair enough. So do you think that's where it went wrong for him?
Yeah, I think he overstayed his welcome. Which, to be fair, was something I didn't really think he had done until recently. Probably Southampton, the young boys game, I started to to think it. But one of my friends who I play football with, and we both follow United, he was saying to sack Ollie after the Europa League final. He was just like, get him out, change the manager. He's never going to do it. So get rid of him. So I think had he gone then, we could have had a succession plan in place. We could have looked at, say, Pochettino or Ten Hag at Ajax or anyone, just the club could have had or even the Ralph we've got now. He could have come in then rather than waiting until we get to the busiest time of the season to bring in a coach. We could have done it then. So I think he just overstayed his welcome a little bit. And I don't think the thing that worked well for Ollie, being a kind of club legend, was the thing that went against him. So when Man United don't perform well, when they lose, that's what you see on the back pages. But then it was the added thing of you would ask Gary Neville, and Gary Neville would maybe make an excuse for him and not call it quite as objectively as he would if it was another club.
Yeah. And
then that becomes another headline. And then Sky always put up these heated debates on YouTube for, just for the clicks and the likes. And it was always a heated debate about Roy Keane, about Ollie. And you can see that, they don't want to criticize a friend, which is fair enough. But I think that doesn't help the manager. It's bad enough when you're being questioned, but when pundits are being questioned about you being questioned, it almost becomes a bit of a farce for the club. If you're a player in the dressing room, then you've got Ollie's the legend and he's the manager, and then you've got someone questioning a pundit who is a legend as well. It just gets a bit. I think that didn't help Ollie, because whatever he said, they would ask Gary Neville about what Ollie had said, or they would ask Roy Keane, and it was a never-ending circle, and that was that then. And at any time he had a bad result, and there would have been loads more, any time that happened, questions would have been asked. And it was interesting that the one person who broke ranks there was Rio Ferdinand. And I was a little bit, because I really like Rio, but I wondered if that was a bit he went first to say that he did go first, because it was almost like there was pressure on the pundits to then call for Ollie's sacking, which is ridiculous when you sit and analyse it. That's no way to run a football club or try and get a successful team. Even challenging for top four, you can't do it. So I think all of that led ultimately to Ollie going.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a good position, was it, to be in, but never mind. So our next one is, out of all the proposed candidates for the full-time position, who would you choose, and who would work best with Rangnick in his 2-year consultancy role?
I'd probably say Ten Hag at Ajax. I think if you look at the structure of a club like Ajax, first of all, and I think this is the bigger problem of Man United, is we always look at the manager to fix everything, because that's what Ferguson did. We all, as Man United fans, we all jumped to those Ferguson years of he's the manager, but he was the controller. He controlled everything about that club. He controlled what would go in the papers. He would control the media. He would control his players. That doesn't happen now. The club have to control it. And when you look at clubs with that structure, I always think of Bayern, Ajax, and then in this country, the two who do it the best are Liverpool and City. But they've kind of followed that model. So I would say, looking at a manager who could take over from what Ralph is trying to do, I think it would be Ten Hag. I think he could become one of these, almost like one of these disciples. There's a lot of talk of Jurgen Klopp and Tuchel and Nagelsmann having been tutored by Rangnick. I think Ten Hag could almost fit into that mould. I don't think he's as good as, say, Pep or Klopp or Tuchel. but I think he could get there, and I think he's someone who is adaptable and could work with the vision that I think Ralph is there to bring. The kind of next big change at United is Woodward leaves his position on New Year's Eve, and I think it's Richard Armstrong who takes his role, and he's kind of said he wants to leave football to the footballing minds, and he'll just do the commercial side rather than mix the two, which is what Ed Woodward was doing.
Yeah,
which is mental that somebody has to say that because it's so logical. It's like if you don't know anything about football, why would you try and get involved? It's not a pub team. It's Man United. If you don't know anything about football, why are you getting involved? And I don't think. I mean, going back a couple of questions, that doesn't help Ollie either. But I think Ajax have that structure. They've got Overmars, they've got Van der Sar. They've got a very clear policy of how they want to play. They've got a very clear policy of how they promote youth, and a very clear recruitment policy, which has all been missing from Man United. That structure just hasn't been there since Ferguson and Gill left.
Yeah.
So I think if you're looking at a manager who can be moulded, I would probably say Ten Hag. Pochettino is probably the other one that gets mentioned. Personally, I think Pochettino had a couple of good seasons with Tottenham. And then when it didn't really, they got to the Champions League final. And I think they got to another semi-final. I think, did Ajax beat them in that semi? Then after that, there was no plan after that. From what I saw with Poch, he kept the same team. He didn't really know how to recruit. Maybe if Rangnick's there, it could help him. But I look at Poch at PSG, and he should be rinsing that league. It's a manager of his kind of supposed caliber, which sounds a bit of a dig, but someone with his reputation, you'd expect him to walk it, and really focus on the Champions League, and he's not. And it's easier said than done because he's got three of the biggest egos in world football, in Messi and Mbappe and Neymar. I wouldn't. I feel sorry for any manager who's got to try and manage Neymar. But I don't see Poch at United. I think Ten Hag would be the more natural kind of successor for what Rangnick's trying to do. I mean, the first appointment to his backroom staff was a sports psychologist, which I don't know if there's another English club that's got a sports psychologist, but this is what he did at his clubs in Germany. So the German national sports psychologist, his first job was at a club, I think it's pronounced Ulm, but it was where Rangnick was, and he brought him in, and now he's the German national sports psychiatrist. Psychologist, sorry. So that's an appointment. If Rangnick's only going to be there for 6 months, this guy's going to remain. He's going to be there for the 2 years at least that Rangnick's doing his consultancy. I can't see Pochettino working with a sports psychologist, but I see Ten Hag being open to doing that. So yeah, I think him.
Okay, so going on there about that sports psychologist, is that the type of thing that you think Rangnick brings to the role?
Yeah, I think the big thing is he always brings a structure, which we're lacking in every department at United. He'll bring a structure to the top of the club. If you get that strict kind of separation of you do the commercial, we'll do the football. But when there's a bit of a crossover, we'll cross over. But for the main, we'll keep everything separate.
Yeah.
He'll bring that structure. He'll bring a structure to the youth academy, which our youth academy, it's obviously famous for the class of '92, but we have got some absolute quality young players coming through that academy at the moment. We've got Alanga, who came on it the weekend. We've got Amad Diallo. We've got Tatum Mengi. We've got Jimmy Garner, who's out on loan at the moment. There's just so much quality there. the way that they play high pressing football. That's the way they're trained. And when they're coming into the first team, that's not how we're playing. But maybe now we will under Ralph. So I think there'll be a clear structure of how we promote our youth. And then there's obviously going to be a structure of how we play. So that's what he's good. Yeah, that's what he'll start bringing. But it's that modernizing as well.
Yeah.
Ollie didn't do it. I think the other thing that kind of dogged Ollie a little bit, he was a throwback because he kind of reminded us all of the good times. You know, he was almost like that arm around the shoulder. If you lost one, you kind of look at Ollie and go, "Oh yeah, he scored the winner in '99," or "Oh yeah, he used to come off the bench and he was a miracle worker."
Yeah, but he wasn't playing, so how can you have that?
Yeah, exactly. It's that emotional. You know, in the old days, you'd look to the dugout, and there'd be Ferguson tapping his watch, and you look at the dugout now, and there'd be Ollie. It may as well have been a statue, you know, because it was Ollie, and you'd kind of have that. Oh yeah, it's Ollie. We'll do it because he was a super sub. Rangnick is going to modernise the club, and to be fair, it sounds like I'm dissing Ferguson a little bit here. The one thing that Ferguson always did was modernise. I always remember it was around about the 2004, 2005 season. I think Mourinho had just come from Porto to Chelsea. And Ferguson, in a press conference, he said in the Champions League he's going to play with a front six, which was essentially a 4-3-3. So he was always there trying to modernise, to look at new ways of playing. It's just that Ferguson was a bit more. He was more of a motivator. You know, he'd always the hairdryer and things like that. Whereas if you look at someone like Pep, and it was quite interesting. This actually, what was being discussed on the WhatsApp group earlier. The City are an incredible football team, but their football's almost sterile because you know where they're going to move, and it's not because Bernardo Silva is obviously having an incredible season and they score incredible goals, but I wouldn't choose to watch City. You know, I watch City games if there's nothing else on. I watch them on Saturday nights. Nothing else to do, and if it's the Manchester derby or if it's Man United, City versus Liverpool, but the Pep approach is a bit. There's that story of he used to put chalk lines on the training ground, and he would tell Raheem Sterling where to stand at certain times. It's that very over-coached approach, which United need. You know, a bit now. We need something more than just Ollie standing there going, it's Ollie. You can remember the good times. we need that structure. And Rangnick seems like in the first interviews I've seen with him and some of the kind of archive footage that's come out about him, he's such an articulate, focused speaker when it comes to football. You can clearly see his passion is football and winning football matches in the best way. And the best way could be, you know, having a fantastic defensive performance or having a real kind of steamroller attack type thing. And he seems like he's been a student of the game, even when he was a player. You know, there's the story of he was playing at Dynamo Kiev and he started counting the players because he was sure they had 12 or 13 because of the way they pressed. Yeah. And he went and spoke to their manager. So he'll bring that bit of modernization that we're desperate for at United.
Yeah. Talking of players, what's your position on the people you've got like Jesse Lingard and Donny van der Beek and Paul Pogba? I mean, when he comes back because he's injured at the moment, right? Is he going to fit into the team? Do you think they're going to try and keep him? Because is he leaving on a free? Apparently, I've heard.
Yeah, his contract goes. To be honest, when it comes to Pogba, my feeling with him for the last few years is as good a footballer as he is, and he's undoubtedly a world-class footballer, I don't think he's right for the club. He's another one that's a question mark.
Yeah.
You've always got Mino Raiola in the paper saying, I've offered him to City. or I'm engineering a move. And I'd rather just the circus left, because he hasn't. When you analyse Pogba's career at United, it's almost like you could put a really good YouTube kind of commemorative farewell video together for Pogba with some lovely goals, but you'd only ever see him with the Europa League trophy or the Carabao Cup trophy. He's not going to have a Premier League trophy there or anything like that. And when Bruno came in, everyone forgot about Pogba. He was off in Dubai training on his ankle, talking to Zidane, and everyone forgot about him. And it's harsh because he's a good player, but I think he's a player who will go. I think the club will say enough's enough. If you're not going to sign the contract, it's an expensive loss. Was he a world record signing? No, he wasn't a world. That was Neymar, wasn't it? He was a British record signing. But I think for the good of the club and moving forwards, I think he's a distraction. But I also don't think he fits. I don't think he has that balance. He's not. If you look at Declan Rice, and I've watched a lot of West Ham this season, the draft team. West Ham have been really, really good, but Declan Rice has just been on another level to other midfielders. Yeah. And I would rather we shipped Pogba off to PSG or Real Madrid, where he can continue making his headlines and doing his social media stuff, and that's fine. And again, sounds like a diss. I really like Pogba, but I don't think he's good for our club at the moment. So I think he'll go. Jesse's an interesting one because I think he actually fits the profile of what Rangnick's looking for. He works really hard. He puts in loads of running, clever running as well. I think he's really open to coaching as well. He goes to West Ham for half a season. He gets played on that 3-4-3 on the left, and he responds. And he's got a structure. He's got a manager telling him where to play, how to play, and he's being coached. And he played some of the best football. But the weird thing with Lingard is, I think there's a stat there somewhere where I think he's scored more goals, or he's got a better goal to appearance ratio when he's been on loan than he has at Man United. He's always a better player when he's gone on loan. I think he was on loan at Birmingham, Brighton, before he got into the first team, and the same at West Ham. Yeah. So he's somebody who I actually think we'll probably try and keep, because I think personally, I think he's almost, in terms of the style that Rangnick wants, where there's a lot of running and control, I actually think he's probably up there with Rashford, with how good he is. It's just getting that consistency. So he's a bit of a maybe. And Van der Beek, I think Van der Beek is another one who works with what Rangnick wants. I think he's got plenty of running, but he's a really intelligent player, Van der Beek. Watching him at Ajax, he wore the number 6, but he was a support striker to Tadic. But he was always starting his runs from the halfway line. I could never figure out where he was playing. And he kind of reminded me in that respect of Thomas Muller. I have no idea where Thomas Muller plays. I think I read in an interview once, he's an artist of space. Yeah. Which was a bit poncy, and I kind of dismissed it. But when I watched him, he plays behind Lewandowski, and that's about as far as I get with Muller. But he's quality. He's so good. He puts in the running. His passing's fantastic. His positional play is fantastic. He does appear for the tap-ins and the headers and things like that. So I think Van der Beek's in that mould, and I think really getting rid of Pogba probably opens the door up for Van der Beek, because everyone kind of thinks of Bruno being his natural rival. But in that, if you're going to play 4-2-2-2, which he did the other day, and he had Bruno and Sancho alongside each other, there's no reason why Van der Beek can't go there, or even put Van der Beek up alongside Ronaldo for certain games. So I think Ollie, again, we're going to come back to the mistakes that Ollie made. If you're not playing him, it's because he doesn't know how to use him. And I think that was Ollie's fault, not Van der Beek's. It was Van der Beek's quality. So it'll be interesting. I think in terms of, Pogba's a more definite, he's going to go. I think Jesse's a 50-50, and I think Van der Beek's a more definite he'll stay. But you watch, Pogba will stay, Lingard and Van der Beek will go. No, I said that. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think you sounds logical what you're saying, so I think you're probably on the money there. But yeah, like you say, we'll find out, I guess, what happens over the next couple of months.
Yeah, January's around the corner.
Yeah. So we've discussed players, we've discussed what went wrong for Ollie, we've discussed what Rangnick brings. My next question is, where could it go wrong for Rangnick?
I think in things that probably aren't his fault. I think it's mental that we kept Ollie for the international break, let him get smashed 4-1 by Watford, and then sack him. I still can't get my head around that. It was clear he was struggling, and it was clear he wasn't going to get to the end of the season. So take him out, sack him. If you're going to sack him in that 2-week international break, because that international break was wasted. He sent the players on holiday who weren't going on international break, so he wasn't putting any plans together. So if you sack him, then you can get Rangnick in, you can get all that over with. The players come back, and you've got more training sessions. So I think the first thing that's going to hinder him is he's coming to the Premier League in December, which is the busiest time for the Premier League, and it's the most vital. If you can be in and around in Christmas, you've got a great chance. And if he's still there at Easter, you're likely to win the league. So he's going to come into playing a match every 3-4 days, which you don't do in Germany. And there's one of our esteemed German managers in the Premier League always loves to have a complaint about the December fixture list. So
right.
I think that could be a struggle for Rangnick, is can he get his ideas across with limited training sessions? That's going to be a massive thing. And I think the one thing that goes against it is, I think looking at how he operates, like the kind of calmness that he has, I think there'll be a bit of coaching from the touchline. I think he'll be on the touchline still telling players where to move, where to go. I thought it was interesting that he didn't change his lineup after the Arsenal match to the Palace match. He kept a bit of consistency and, again, a bit of structure. He's obviously thought, how do I get the best out of a team to win this game? So I think he'll compensate for the lack of training by kind of almost talking players through it from the touchline, because he's obviously got a very clear idea of what he wants to do. He'll just be learning which players he thinks are best to do it. I think the other thing is the injuries. He wants to play a high pressing style. It's going to take a toll on any player who's not used to doing it. So I think there could be some pulled hamstrings and muscle fatigue injuries, which, funnily enough, under Van Gaal's reign, the football was beyond shocking. But behind the scenes, he was trying to do things to modernise the club's approach to football. So he brought in double training sessions to try and get that fitness up. We in no way played any kind of high intensity pressing under Van Gaal, but there was that thought was there to start that the different training regimes. But his injuries were incredible. I think Daley Blind spent more time having on the treatment table than he did playing in Van Gaal's second season. So I think those are the two big ones: the lack of training time, and then avoiding the injuries. It'd be interesting. I saw another thing on Rangnick, and I can't remember if it was Hoffenheim or Leipzig, but he wanted to play this high pressing style, and he did have the problem with injuries. So he brought in a doctor who he'd worked with at another club, or a doctor who I think he himself, Rangnick, had an injury, like a back injury, and was told it would take 6 months. And he found this doctor, and he was healed in 6 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
So he brought this doctor into the club, and any injuries were resolved and sorted, and then the injuries dried up. The doctor wasn't just a doctor to react to injuries. He was a doctor who brought in training regimes and nutrition and all aspects like this.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if that's one of his next appointments. After, if he's going to train the players' minds with a sports psychologist, is he then going to bring in a doctor to kind of freshen up that part of the club as well, which it would be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But I think of all the things that will scupper Rangnick, it'll be that lack of training time and possible injuries.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think I've got one more question, but before I get it, I just want to say, it's been really interesting listening to your thoughts and your views on this club, which you obviously care for as a fan. But now I want to try and get something juicy out of you if I can. And that is, do you think that United were baited into signing Ronaldo to stop City signing him?
I think it definitely played a part. I think when you read the stories that it was a phone call from Alex Ferguson, I think the prospect of Ronaldo going to City was real. I think definitely we put the call in and persuaded him to come to Old Trafford to stop him going to City. I think had he gone to City, it would have been an absolute travesty. For football in general. I think the politest thing that I called him on my WhatsApp group with my Man United friends was a snake. That was, and there was a lot more names going around. And
so I don't think, do you think he'd actually would have gone to City though? Surely, as any player that's played for a club like United and done what he did at United before, surely to then, years down the line, go to their rival would be questionable.
So
to him, directly.
Yeah. So I have thought about that. And was it a smoke and mirrors tempt United in by going full City? The only things that make me think that he was actually serious about going to City, he did an interview a few years ago. I think it was on the Jonathan Ross show, that acclaimed sports broadcaster, where he said he wanted to go out on top. He wanted to go out winning leagues, winning Champions Leagues, winning Ballon d'Ors. And let's face it, winning anything at United seems a long prospect. So that was the first thing that made me think, going to City, he's got the best chance of winning a Champions League. And winning Premier Leagues and winning a Ballon d'Or. And I think the other thing was, obviously, he's got a bit of an ego, Cristiano. And there's one Man United club legend who played for United and City, Dennis Law. And Dennis Law actually relegated Man United from the first division to the second division on the last day of the season. If you ever get a chance to see the goal on YouTube, I think it's like a back heel from 3 yards out, and he doesn't celebrate. But we still refer to Dennis Law as the king, the original king, Cantona being the second king. And it's almost forgotten that he did relegate United when he was at City. And I think there was probably a bit of Ronaldo that thought, do you know what, I've done enough for United. I'm that big of a footballing legend, they'll forgive me. And I think he might have been a bit surprised by how much there was a backlash to him going. So, I think what I kind of console myself with it at night sometimes when I think about it was all a smoke and mirrors move. But I think he would have ended up going there. I think he would have done.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. the shady dealings that you'll never get to see, sort of thing. But
it would have been. I would have loved him to say if City had pulled out. Was it Peter Odemwingie who drove to West Brom's training ground to try and force through a deal? I'd have loved him to have driven to Old Trafford to try and get signed. But I'm just happy that he's back home, because it would have been a bit of a death knell, I think, in football, because it'd be like Messi going to Real Madrid.
Yeah,
you just don't do that. That's just not on. It was bad enough when Tevez went to City, because when I was a student, I spent one of my last bit of my student loan in my second year went on a Man United embroidered Champions League top, and it was slim pickings for who you could have on the back of the shirt. So I thought, well, Tevez took the first penalty, and he's a bit of a legend. So I've got this beautiful Tevez top that I never look at because he went and played for City.
No, it's probably quite a rare top, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to sell my United tops, but
yeah,
I have had a look, and if I am struggling to make my mortgage repayments, then you might see it on eBay.
Adam may be first there. He'll be first in line. That was great. I've got no more questions for you on that.
Cool.
I think we'll wrap it up there. We've been going for 47 minutes now, so it's getting up there with one of our longer episodes. But I know it's good. It's really good to sort of chat about stuff like that just get people's thoughts on, especially the team that you follow, sort of thing, and have done clearly for a long time. So it's really good, and a good way to sort of introduce you, I think, to the league. And next time we'll try and do something maybe a bit different. Next time we'll be closer to the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see where we both are in the league, I guess, and see what your thoughts are then as well.
Yeah, we might be accidental rivals.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's a long way to go, and being over 100 points off the lead is not a good place to be right now.
Keep the faith.
So, we'll see. But thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it's been nice. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. So we'll wrap it up. If you've been listening, thank you very much. Leave us a like. Make sure you've subscribed. We'll see you next time. As always, this is the DraftCast. And remember, draft is life. See you soon.